Why do I pick my skin? I bet you've asked yourself this before. And today we're going to get down into a little bit almost biochemistry. We're going to talk about some of the neurotransmitters that give a more complete answer to why. And more importantly, we're going to talk about natural ways that you can balance the neurotransmitters that are really involved with skin picking and hair pulling, and start to manage these behaviors or continue managing them if you are working on that already. So I'm Annette Pasternak, the Stop Skin Picking Coach. Let's get to the topic here. So first, I just want to remind you, this is for education only, the purpose of this video. It's not medical advice. So please be sure you consult your doctor, maybe a pharmacist if you want to try out any supplements and want to know if this will be safe, especially with, if you're taking any medications. So we're going to talk about two neurotransmitters today. Neurotransmitters are molecules that get made from the amino acids that get digested from the proteins that you eat in your foods, whether they be animal or vegetable. These are signaling molecules, so they're sending signals into the synapses between the nerves in your brain and throughout your body. The first one we're going to talk about is glutamate. Glutamate is the main excitatory neurotransmitter in the body, which means it is sending the go message, like faster, faster, fire, fire, go, go, go. So it's speeding things up. And its counterpart is GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid. We're going to call it GABA. And that one is the major inhibitory neurotransmitter. So it's like putting on the brakes. It's saying, okay, slow down here. Let's be firing a little less. So these two are counterparts, and we're going to be looking how we can make sure they're balanced in the body, because when we have too much activity on one hand versus the other hand, that can cause a lot of the issues that we're experiencing. So we're going to talk about how to balance these neurotransmitters so you're not experiencing all the negative effects of them being out of balance with regards to picking or anxiety and things like that. So first, before we talk about getting them in balance, how do we even know that they're involved in skin picking and hair pulling? A few things suggested. Number one, dysfunction in the glutamate system is already implicated research-wise. They've studied these things, already implicated OCD, anxiety, in addiction, and all of these things have similarities with skin picking, right? There's some kind of similarity or overlap there. So that's the first reason we suspect. Number two is that there's actually a knockout mouse. So this means a mouse that is missing a gene, and in this case, it's for a molecule that binds to the glutamate receptor and affects the signaling. So that protein there is missing in this mouse, and this mouse actually has a huge tendency to what's called barber its fur. So it's basically, I feel ridiculous. I don't know why I feel like I need to act this out, but it's basically like pulling its fur out, abrading its skin. I think it's all done like with its mouth rather than scratching, but I don't remember exactly. Anyway, so this mouse clearly does very similar behaviors to our skin picking and our hair pulling when it has this piece of the glutamate system missing. That's a big reason why we know, glutamate, this system is involved. Why we think it, okay? It's not 100% sure. We're not mice after all, but usually there's a lot of similarities. Then reason number three is that this drug that's been shown just recently to work for skin picking and hair pulling, I have a video on that, I'll link here. This is a glutamate receptor antagonist, okay? So it binds to this glutamate receptors and slows down that signaling as well. So since that is shown to be involved in skin picking and hair pulling, that's how we know, these 3 reasons, especially I guess reasons 2 and 3, are how we really know we want to pay attention to this glutamate, okay, and its counterpart, the GABA. Now, I just want to say that this stuff is very complicated, okay? There are many glutamate receptors, transporters, other molecules that bind to these, speed them up, slow them down. There are other neurotransmitter systems that they interact with, the serotonin and the dopamine systems. And so, it's a big, complicated picture. And so the way we're going to be talking about it today is very simplified. I think that we can learn something from this simple model, so that's why we're talking about it. Just keep in mind, this is simplifying it, a little bit generalizing it. Again, we have the glutamate, which is like the gas pedal, and the GABA, which is like a brake pedal. And so there are times when we want to shift this arrow, to have like a little less glutamate and more GABA. Sometimes the reverse, or sometimes, bring them both up. So let's talk about like what happens, if you've got the dial really switched too much on the glutamate, where you're a little bit heavy on the gas pedal. Like, what's gonna happen? You can get anxiety, hyperactivity, impulsivity, too little motor control, right? Does that sound familiar? It's like we do these behaviors sometimes without being able to not do them, right? Without being able to stop. With the arrow shifted to glutamate, we can get insomnia, we can get migraines or fibromyalgia. Those are both things where the muscles are just overfiring and too tense. Even epilepsy, and there are actually several more I'm not even gonna mention. This has been studied in a lot of different conditions. Now, what happens if maybe you're shifted too far in the other direction? If you have perhaps too little glutamate or maybe too much GABA, well, we know that too little glutamate can result in depression, also ADD, where you just have too little attention. So, this glutamate system, I really forgot to say, it's involved in memory, it's involved in cognition, just thinking and understanding. So too little glutamate, you might get depression, you might get ADD without the hyperactivity, just kind of stuck in a can't do state. Okay, so that's when what happens when we have, for the most part, for most of these situations, we've got too much glutamate. When we shift the arrow, we will be calmer. Okay, when we shift more to GABA, GABA is calming us down. GABA is going to be allowing us to sleep and have relaxed muscles. So our body feels good, okay? Our body's relaxed and we won't have a lot of the chronic pain. Okay, so now the part of what we can do about this. So how we're going to turn this dial naturally to get what we want. We need more glutamate, less glutamate, more GABA. So the first really important thing is exercise. And exercise is good for all of us, and with no matter what's going on with these neurotransmitters, okay? So exercise increases both glutamate and GABA. So when you increase the glutamate, you're going to get better focus, better attention. When you increase GABA, you're going to be calm. So these, exercise just, right, it just puts you in a nice, calm, focused state. We're not talking about like if you completely exhaust yourself, but a nice, good amount of vigorous exercise puts us in a nice state because it increases glutamate and GABA. Yoga in particular. So yoga is kind of weird because some of it is like more exercising and some of it is just super relaxing. But always, with the deep, slow breathing, yoga actually increases GABA a lot. And then just, calm breathing and especially meditation and mindfulness practices, those things increase GABA a lot as well. So those are some really important things to have in your lifestyle that can really affect skin picking and hair pulling. I've definitely experienced this myself. Also, reduced anxiety a lot. Many of my clients have reported that when they start meditating, their picking goes down and their just ability to deal with everything is improved. The next important thing is to eat fresh whole foods, okay? Eating real healthy food, real food, unprocessed, not stuff you're gonna get at McDonald's or like in the frozen section or like in the middle of the grocery store. We're talking about, what tends to be on the outsides of the grocery store, fruits and vegetables, meat, fish, some dairy, some grains, whatever, good, real whole foods. So that is very important. The next thing is fermented foods. Okay, fermented foods in particular can affect what neurotransmitters we're producing. There are some in particular, some of the lactobacillus ones that increase GABA. So having regular amounts of fermented foods, the lactobacilli you would find in something like kefir, so maybe having some kefir and berries periodically be a nice dessert rather than sugary, cookies or something like that. So the next thing you can do to shift the balance towards increasing your GABA is with supplements, okay? So there are GABA supplements and they do work for some people. They can really calm you down if they work for you, but make sure if you're gonna try something like that, make sure you're in touch with your doctor or your pharmacist says it's okay. Those can really lower your blood pressure. I would be more comfortable suggesting some nutrients that you're probably deficient in. Glutamate actually gets converted to GABA, and the conversion of that takes place in an enzyme that uses vitamin B6, zinc, and L-taurine to do this reaction. Okay, and so it's going to happen more efficiently and faster if you've got a good store of B6 in your body, vitamin B6, if you've got enough zinc. And many, many people do not, and especially people with mental health condition. Actually, really like this book, Nutrient Power, Heal Your Biochemistry and Heal Your Brain by William J. Walsh. And I just want to read what he says about zinc deficiency. Is by far the most frequently observed chemical imbalance in mental health populations. More than 90% of persons diagnosed with depression, behavioral disorders, ADHD, autism, and schizophrenia exhibit depleted plasma zinc levels ranging from low normal to severe deficiency. I do have a zinc video as well you can look at. If you suspect you've got like too much glutamate and wanna shift to having more GABA, I think it's better to see if maybe you are deficient in B6 or are deficient in zinc. And they're generally safe enough that the best way to see if you are deficient is to actually take the substance and see if it helps you. I've had a lot of clients report good success with B6 or just a B complex in general, because a lot of the B vitamins are really important for all these metabolic reactions and stuff in your body. And same with zinc. I mean, zinc's involved in hundreds of the chemical reactions. So, we're just going to work better if we have enough of these things. The next supplement I want to mention is theanine. So this is something that's naturally present in tea. I think it might be the only thing you can eat or drink that has this substance, theanine. And theanine also increases GABA. And so that is something, it's interesting because it's present in, green tea, white tea, black tea, but not in coffee. So even though some of these things have caffeine in them, it also has a calming effect from theanine, whereas coffee just has that go, 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 which, we'll mention it does increase your glutamate, but not your GABA, whereas, the tea probably increases both of those, and so it might be a better balance for you to drink tea. The next supplement I want to mention is NAC, and I do have a video on that one too. It helps people pick less and have less urges and all that. So that's that will also work through the balancing this system here. Magnesium is another supplement. So this activates the GABA receptors. So it's like shifting this arrow towards more GABA, or the effect of GABA is greater when you're taking magnesium. So that, that's something I take before bed. Really helps my sleep, helps, I get a lot of muscle tension as well, helps with that. Then there are various herbs. There are a lot of herbs that affect the system and increase your GABA amounts. A lot of them are actually in different sleep teas or capsules of herbs for sleep. Holy basil, valerian, passion flower, chamomile, St. John's wort, and kava kava. So those are some options if you wanted to just look into some other supplements. Those all are the ways to kind of take you in a direction where the arrow is where you want to go, probably what's going to benefit most of us. What are some things that take you in the other direction? Well, I already mentioned caffeine, and yes, caffeine will increase the glutamate and it gets you going, but it's in a very excited and nervous way, and really increases anxiety for a lot of people. It really increases like the automatic scanning and picking and pulling for a lot of people. So I have a video on caffeine as well. So I'll link all these things that in the description that are giving you a little more information in each of these things. Reducing the caffeine or moving to some tea instead will most likely help you out. The other thing that really moves the arrow in the direction that you don't want and can really increase your picking and pulling behaviors, we already alluded to that one too, and that's the processed or fast foods. So glutamate comes from amino acids that are naturally in our food, but these in general are not a problem. You can look up like, which foods have more or less, but I don't think they're a big factor in whether you're having issues with the glutamate or not. However, processed or fast foods have some compounds that contain the free glutamate that are very bad for your nervous system to function well. Okay, so these are MSG, monosodium glutamate. You've probably heard of or experienced. Tasty, but really makes your heart go crazy and just everything. It's like firing it all up. It's basically pure glutamate. Then there are very similar compounds to this. So things like hydrolyzed vegetable protein, hydrolyzed yeast, autolyzed yeast, soy extract, protein isolate. These are all things that are essentially free glutamate or act pretty much like they have a lot of free glutamate. And then the last thing I want to mention is alcohol, which temporarily decreases glutamate and increases GABA, but then after there's kind of a bounce back effect, and especially if you're using it chronically, then you're going to chronically end up shifting your system to too much glutamate and too little GABA, and so that's really harmful. So making some improvements in your exercise and diet, maybe addressing some nutrient deficiencies, stress reduction tools like meditation or yoga, these are things that are going to improve your skin picking or similar behaviors, and they're going to improve your overall health. So I strongly believe that this is like the way to go. If you have kind of the bandwidth to work on these things, that's going to be the healthiest thing for you going forward. Yes, there are some drugs that can be effective, but on the whole, anytime you do use pharmaceutical drugs, they typically have some side effects, and I don't think you're improving your overall health most times, and sometimes you're making it worse, because the side effects then need to be something to address that maybe they give you another drug for. And so, I think it really pays off to put a little effort into what you're doing. And if you need help with that, it's really hard to make positive changes sometimes. You know, I work as a coach, so go to my website, stopskinpickingcoach.com, contact me there. I'll give you a little free session and we can talk about some ongoing coaching to help you make these changes and do the skin picking behavior a lot less, and it maybe eventually even be free from it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, please give me a thumbs up. I'm still making videos periodically, so subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Please comment and share with the other viewers, you know, if things like exercise or meditation or certain of these supplements helped you and you're picking or pulling behaviors. I always like to, when I'm looking for help in YouTube, I always like to read the comments and see, you know, if people there are writing things that are helpful for me. So yeah, please do that, and thank you for your comments and your attention today. All right, take care.